You guys, I was like unhinged last week, and I just like was writing stuff down.
I am enough. I am worthy. And here's how I'm showing that to myself.
Yes.
And the reverse is true too, of the more that you show yourself that you're not worthy, it goes the same way, right? Where you're reinforcing those patterns of like, gosh, see, I'm not worth it. I'm not worth the time. I'm not valuable enough. I'm not enough. I'm not lovable, whatever it is.
I think you should assess why you want your children to struggle.
Nice little clap back.
Was that crazy? Should I not have said that? Welcome back to another episode of Sessions for the Soul.
Yeah, welcome back. We took a little 1 week break. Been having some weird medical stuff with my eye. And we're like hopefully on the upswing at this point. So
yes,
it feels good to like just be back doing like normal routine things.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Glad to be here with you. You've definitely been in my heart, on my mind, sending you like all the good vibes. And for our listeners, like seriously, any prayers, any good vibes to Kayla right now. She needs it on this journey of just getting back to health, and also just to like being able to feel better. And
yeah, for sure.
And like, you know,
anytime there's something, I was thinking about how like, you know, if you get a sore throat or like your body's achy from a fever and you just really remember how grateful you are for like full functioning. I feel like my eyeball is like taking that to the next level of like, oh my gosh, like pain in your eye and blurred vision and light sensitivity and all the things are like there were a few days where I like literally couldn't do anything. And so it was like, it just really highlights like your eyeballs are so important. Your whole body's important, but like, it's just a good reminder to care for your health.
Yeah, absolutely. And like the gratitude piece of like, just having like the ability, like mobility, ability to do certain things, and it can be put in perspective, unfortunately, like in these times. And no, definitely. Yeah, it's crazy. I know, like you had said at one point that it was just really painful as well. So like glad you're like in less pain, and but still like,
I'm glad the pain is gone. It's like hard to even describe what pain in your eyeball feels like. It's like, you know, like joint pain or bone pain or whatever, like muscle pain, like we can all kind of relate to that on some level. And then eye pain is like just the craziest, like deepest sensation that you like, you can't really find relief for that.
Yeah, it's like a strange one. And like, does it feel like I like, not to be like, let me just ask you some questions. I'm going to interview you. Does it feel like a headache?
No, I mean, I had a headache as well, just around like the orbital bone or whatever it's called.
Because the tension, I'm sure.
Which was like not a good sign. That's like when things were getting worse. No, it's like, it's like the back of you, it's like deep, like your whole eyeball, but mostly in the back of your eyeball is like just painful. And then I still have inflammation and stuff. So my eye is dilated right now. So I like have like I can see my eye is throbbing. And so it's like a very strange.
Yeah, that's so bizarre.
It's very bizarre.
Yeah, it's interesting because like we're not conscious of like that part of our body until something like this makes you conscious of it. So yeah, again, guys, just any good vibes, any prayers, any energy, healing, all of the things for Kayla right now. So
yeah, I'm trying to like blow my doctor away next week of like how much I've healed.
And you know what? Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah, it's so bizarre and just a crazy start to 2026.
Honestly, kind of a bummer because I was like, we talked about last episode. Like I was so excited to like take this month away from social media, which has worked out really well for so many reasons. One, I literally could not look at a screen.
Yeah.
And two, just like it's just so easy to like go down rabbit holes on social media. And so that's worked out really well. But I was really hoping to like spend this time, like I wanted to learn how to sew and just do other things. And the last few days I did explore that a little bit, but it's just been like, you know, medical appointments and blurred vision and pain and all the things. So yeah, we're just doing what we can.
And that's
at
all
this
we can do.
point.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And, something that just, it can be so like, it can feel like we're off track in a way sometimes when something like this comes up that's out of our control. But it's like a reminder, I guess, to just like remember what we can like reassess when you are healed, and
Hmm.
also like just being gentle with yourself, because I totally get that,
Yeah.
you know.
I always try and think of medical things, even if it's just like a little like, oh, I have a cold or something. Like,
Yeah.
what is this an invitation to do more
Mm-hmm.
of or less of, or like care for myself in a different way? And so, I mean, that doesn't fix everything, but it at least I think kind of offers like a little bit of a silver lining of like, oh, this is actually an invitation to do X, Y, and Z, or to
Yeah.
look at things a little differently. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, we're glad to be back, and
yeah,
um hopefully, we get to just keep diving into this more and more, and
yeah,
I just know you're gonna be on the up and up. We're
yeah.
putting that out there.
I trust that. Yes.
Yes, it's all gonna come together. And who knows, like, what other invitations, like,
Yeah.
you know I know, like, obviously, to a degree, it's like you can't be off social media forever,
Right.
but
Yeah.
maybe like down the road, or like once you have more space, you can take like other breaks or other like
Yeah.
cleanses or
For
micro
sure.
breaks and stuff to still like bring
Yeah.
that intention back in that you had set.
Yeah.
Because I know. um yeah, yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Well, today's episode, guys, we're going to be talking about self-worth and
Yeah.
some elements of that, and um just kind of, what is self-worth, because I think there's like so much. We were talking about this before we started, like, what even is it, and
Yeah.
how to nourish it, ways that it gets kind of stripped away, things like that. And I think we both can like bring a lot to this conversation just from
Hmm.
our own journeys, and then also like walking with people on their journeys.
Yeah.
And before we dive into all of that, I think we're going to do what I
Yeah.
said.
Let's do it.
Okay.
I'll formulate mine
As we
loosely.
go, as
Yeah.
we go. So, you guys, I was like unhinged last week, and I just like was writing stuff down. Um, and my I said what I said is if you're a parent, and I'm going to just generalize this to like parents of primarily teens and adult children, because I think when you're a teenager, parents can say this too.
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
remember this maybe being said. Um, but if you're a parent of an adult child or a teenager, or a parent of an adult who has children, and you like wish ill, or like you're like, I can't wait for parenthood to be so hard for you,
Hmm.
um like, I mean, I don't want to say you're a bad person, because that's not, but
It's just like not a kind thing
that's
to
not a kind
say.
thing, and that's like,
Yeah.
I think you should assess why you want your children to struggle.
Yeah.
That's what it is. Like,
Yeah.
when I hear parents say like, oh, oh yeah, things are about to get so hard, you've got teenagers, or just wait how awful it's going to be, like,
Hmm.
I can't wait for you to get your payback.
Hmm.
I'm so sorry that you feel traumatized, or like so much like
Hmm.
resentment toward your experience as a parent. But that's like really, yeah, that's bad energy that you're like wishing that upon your kids, and you should assess that.
Or like, I wish, or I hope that you have a kid exactly like how you are, or if you're talking to a teenager, or
Yeah.
like exactly how you were. Yeah. Like, why would you
Yeah.
say that?
And also, you know what? I hope I do too, so I can give them what I needed in this moment that you couldn't give me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I said what I
Ooh.
said. Yeah, I said what I said.
Nice little clap back.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Was that crazy? Should I not have said that?
No, I love that. I yeah, I guess the framing of it that I could kind of understand a little bit more is the comment of like, once you become a parent, you'll
Right.
understand XYZ thing, but that's not saying it from a place of like ill intentions of like, I hope you suffer the same way I did. Like,
And it's the way you frame it.
yeah.
Thank you for saying that, because I think that's so important, because it is like there's a big difference between like, as a parent saying like, hey, I this is what I knew in the moment,
Yeah.
And I one day you might understand this differently, and maybe you'll have a different perspective on it and can bring that to me or whatever,
Yeah.
and approaching it with more of an open heart and an open mind.
Yeah.
But it definitely has a different quality when you're like, I hope this is so hard for you.
Yeah. It's just kind of mean.
No, it is. And I'm
Like,
like, you should go to therapy because that's crazy.
yeah.
Yeah. I know this is seeming oddly specific.
And you're like,
But
that's because it
it
is.
is. No, it's just crazy. Like when I hear people say that, I'm always like, that's so bizarre. Like, and yeah, it's come up in conversations that I've been around in the past, in like the past 3 decades.
But specifically 3 to 5 days.
No,
Okay.
exactly. Specifically the last week. And I was like, that's gross. Yeah. So
Yeah.
that's my said what I
No,
said.
I love it. I stand by it. Mine is I'm just working with what I have on the spot right here. I feel like fear mongering on social media is like so incredibly toxic, and I'm saying this from a place of like being sucked into that in the past and also currently being in a place where I'm not part of that at all and it feels so good. But I was thinking about it recently how I feel like so much of that, the person who is like spreading the thing,
Mm-hmm.
and this could be medical, parenting, legal, like fill in the blank on like all the fear
Oh,
mongering
absolutely.
categories out there, is coming from their own place of like massive fear around whatever it is, like loss of control, abuse of power, um, like deep mistrust, like whatever the thing is. And unfortunately, I think a lot of people then get like sucked into that and are like harmed in some way, not necessarily directly, but indirectly,
Yeah.
and then go on their own little thought spiral. So I don't even know what my overall statement is on that, but like it's just, it feels so based in fear and it feels so toxic and gross.
Yeah. It's almost like fear mongering. Like it's like fear mongering is rooted in, it's like if you're out fear mongering, you are actually afraid. And
Yes.
like
Yeah.
that's the like,
Yeah.
but yeah, I love that you said that. First of all, so good, so relevant to like the world.
Yeah.
And I had something that I was like, ooh, that is um yeah, it just left me. It'll come back. But I love that because, oh, this is what it is. I feel like unfortunately there's like this narrative out there that like fear mongering is how to get people to resonate or like make a
Yes.
sale or
Yes.
connect or like get you people to believe your
Mm-hmm.
perspective. And it's just not helpful. And it's also something that's been coming up, and I feel like this is directly related, is it's sad to view the world this way. It actually,
Mm-hmm.
like when we, you know how like the phrase of like when we focus on that is like it grows.
Yeah.
It's that thing of
It
like
is. Yeah.
if all you can see is the like the fear,
Everyone's out to get you. No one has your best interest in
the
mind.
world is
The
bad.
world is so bad. Yeah. Like that's the core message. Like, how sad to be in that position. And it's like, it's like putting you in a position of fear and scarcity and
Yes.
like impulsive or reactive decision making instead of like being in a place of empowerment and peace and trusting your intuition,
Yeah.
not outsourcing all of that to some influencer online or
Yeah.
whatever it is, you know? So, yeah, it's just kind of an interesting thing to think about. Just my own, I guess, arc of like being kind of deep in that when I first got on social media of like, oh my God, there's toxins everywhere
Right.
and the
This is
medical
happening.
industry is like out to get me and just the whole thing. And just over the years, kind of being challenged on a lot of those things. And then just acutely in this like medical situation with my current situation of like, you know what, I actually don't believe like the medical system is completely out to get us, and like I think most times like doctors have our best interest in mind. Why would they not? Like, and just
Right.
challenging all of these beliefs that are easy to get, bogged down by. So
Absolutely. I love that. I love that you said this. I think it's like really important too, just in the world we live in and the climate right now.
Yeah.
Because like I do think there's actually like I've been really holding that there's actually a lot more good in the world than maybe we're led to believe, or like
So much.
that's
Yeah.
that is presented online. And when you take a step back and
Hmm.
you also just like think about like the nature of this like idea that the nature of everyone is like to like exploit or be malicious or whatever. Like, yes, that exists, obviously.
Hmm.
Hello.
Yeah.
But I actually think that like more humans are good, and more
Hmm.
things like, things can get distorted, of course, but everything can. And
Hmm.
if we're willing to like try to see the good and like nourish the good's
Yeah.
gonna like more good is gonna become
Yeah.
visible or
I think it's definitely the more vulnerable path to take, to assume that you can like trust people and people have your best interest in mind, and people aren't out to harm you in general. Like that seems like the much more vulnerable route,
yeah.
because you're of course putting yourself at risk of being harmed or exploited or manipulated or whatever it is that you're maybe fearful of. But
Yeah.
I think for the most part, like most people are good humans and they're not doing that. And so,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that's something I've been reflecting on recently.
I
So,
love that, girl. I feel like that just like was a divine little.
yeah.
I love that. Before we started this, we were like going through what are we going to do for our if I could talk, I said what I said. And I love that that's what came to you.
Yeah. Yeah.
So good.
I feel like the other ones written down were a little too heavy. So,
You're like, let's not unpack that
for
today.
another time.
We'll say that for something else down the
Yeah.
road. Season 3. I'm just
Yeah.
kidding. Hilarious. Okay, well, that's what those are the hills we're willing to die on.
Yeah.
And now let's transition, shall we?
Self worth.
Self-worth.
I mentioned before we started, I was like, my therapist asked me a few months ago, like, how do I define self worth? Because it's something that's come up for me. I know it's come up for you. We've talked about it on the show in different episodes. And I was like, that's such a great question, because, like, in what it boils down to me, for me, is like enoughness. You know what I
Mm,
mean?
so
In
good.
so many ways, like, am I enough? And then, like, what category does that fall into? Whether it be
Yeah,
relationships, friendships, work, whatever it is for you. Like,
I love that.
yeah. So that's just kind of been like an interesting thing to kind of reflect on.
Yeah, when you asked me that before we started, I was like, "Oh, that's such an important question." And I think like I love the way you just framed it, enoughness. That resonates so deeply with me.
Yeah.
Um, but like initially being asked it, I can see how I'd be like, I have no idea.
Right. It's easy to like say the thing, or like say, the phrase
Yeah.
self worth or self love or whatever it is,
Yeah.
but then like to really get clear on like, wait, what does that actually mean to me
Yeah. What is it?
practically?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how do I measure it?
Hmm.
How do I nourish it? And also if I'm feeling like it's lacking, like what is that from? Where do these patterns kind of root? And how do I either like nourish more of it, or what am I doing that's diminishing it?
Hmm.
I think that those are important questions, and we're going to explore that here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like a big like root cause of low self-worth, like these things are often developed early in our life, like many things are, like developmentally speaking. And so that may be from like more of a family environment, like parental level, or it could be from like the friendships in your school life. It like happens in these kind of subtle ways
Mm-hmm.
usually. Or sometimes maybe it happens in more very like explicit, clear ways of like, you are not good enough. You suck at this, or whatever it is that people might be
Yeah.
saying to you. Um, but sometimes it's just those like little jabs or those things that somebody will say or do that you kind of interpret or like digest as like, oh, I'm not enough. I'm not
Mm-hmm.
good enough, or I'm not lovable, or I'm not worthy of a hug or connection, or like whatever it is. And so that's kind of interesting to reflect on too. Like, are there memories that come up of like key moments where it was like, "Ooh, yeah, that really hurt. That
Yeah.
really made me question like if I'm worthy." And
Hmm.
sometimes those are hard to pinpoint.
Oh, for sure. I think it really can be hard. And I also, like, as you were saying that, I'm thinking about too, like, how sometimes these are like generational things as well. Like,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes I think as children, some of those patterns that are formed or some of those stories that like shape us might not be our own stories,
Yeah.
right? Like the phrase like bleeding on people who didn't cut you comes to mind.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you know, I think mother to child, sometimes that stuff can be passed down, or like
Mm-hmm.
parent to child, it can be both parents.
Mm-hmm.
And like what we see someone else do, because
Yeah.
that's how we're like gathering data, right? About like, oh, this is how the world works.
Mm-hmm.
Um, this is how, like watching someone we look up to, we love, a provider for us, treat themselves or let someone treat them a certain way can kind of like shape like our view of the world.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's also another way to where it's like it might be really hard to pinpoint because it's like it was like subliminal almost. It
Yeah.
wasn't like a
Yep.
direct um like incident that happened to us. It was just like a collective
Mm-hmm.
of scenarios or instances or
Mm-hmm.
experiences. And yeah, I think that that is like such a thing. And for whatever reason, like I am also thinking about just like the mother wound and how these can be like generationally like
Mm-hmm.
just things related to worthiness and enoughness can be passed down from, you
Mm-hmm.
know, really far back in the line and keep
Mm-hmm.
repeating. And
Yeah.
um that like resonates with me for sure in my lineage and the women in my lineage. And that's for another episode, you guys, talking about the mother wound. I know we've like
Yeah.
kind of explored maybe doing that or just
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
that situation. But it feels relative to this in a way
Yeah.
too. Yeah.
Yeah, it's almost like, and we've talked about this in terms of nervous system, like blueprinting, but it's almost like the same concept of like you have this model that you're given, or this blueprint, or this template as a child,
Mm-hmm.
and growing up and watching, your parents or whoever your primary caregiver is, how they interact with each other, with the world, with their family, with their jobs, with like all the things. You start to learn like how to build and measure self-worth. Like, am
Mm-hmm.
I worthy of being treated with love and respect? Am I someone who is who like lives up to my value system, or who even has a value system or boundaries, which I know we'll talk about? Am I someone who's like competent and confident in the things that I do, and who's like willing to like take risks and be brave, and like all of those things are demonstrated to us by our primary caregivers. And so
Yeah.
we very early on start to kind of take note subliminally, like you said, like this isn't something that we're like journaling down,
Yeah.
right?
It's like,
As like a
okay.
5 year old. Yeah. But it gets built over time. And then into adulthood, then we have a chance to again like put it into practice of like, oh, how am I showing up in my relationships? Do I think I'm enough for XYZ thing? Am I confident in what I have to bring to this job, or whatever that looks like? And
Right.
so you start to kind of put it into practice. And over time, even in adulthood, our self-worth can be really challenged, or broken down or built up. And so it's kind of I guess it's a flexible thing. I think that's important to note.
Yeah, it's definitely a muscle, right? Like
Yeah.
you can exercise it. And like uh I think like building muscle, right? Like it actually takes a lot more work to maintain and to build muscle than
Yeah.
it does to lose it. And so it is a
Yeah.
practice, like all things. Like I feel like
Hmm.
if there's one thing to take away, folks, so much of life is a practice.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah.
exactly, that is exactly like the experience of it. And it's interesting. I don't think we're super conscious, and it's not something that we can blame ourselves for.
Hmm.
Um, like if you feel, if anyone listening is like, oh, I have low self-worth, or I feel like my self-worth could be improved,
Hmm.
just thinking about like where those things formed. Like when you're a kid, you don't have control over your environment,
Mm-hmm.
and you don't have control over a lot of things or even an awareness of them.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's a that's one of the tricks I think of it, is like
Yeah.
being able to assess and look and say, okay, like these experiences or this thing maybe
Yeah.
is has shaped this, but that was actually out of my control. And
Mm-hmm.
now what is in my control and
Yeah.
what can I do? And so we'll definitely dive into that um, as well. But that is such an important piece of this too, I think, because it's like not we don't want to blame ourselves for some of this
Yeah.
blueprinting, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because that just turns into like more
Shame and
and
self-worth issues.
it's a circle, it's a cycle.
Yeah. Like
Right.
compounds the problem.
It
Yeah.
does. And so yeah, definitely. I mean, I guess we can kind of start by like just diving into like what is uh what are things we can do to kind of really like identify and pinpoint what self-worth like looks like and how we practice it. And I mean, like you said, to you, like it really is like enoughness. I think that's such a beautiful way to phrase it. I would say like same for me, it's that feeling of like self-respect to a degree.
Yeah.
What
Mm-hmm.
we're willing to like really do. And as you know, for whatever reason, codependency, like obviously so
Mm-hmm.
related to this. But when I think about like what we're willing to do for another
Mm-hmm.
and what we're not willing to do for ourselves,
Mm-hmm.
that's a really good way to get a gauge on your self-worth. Because if you're willing to like sacrifice it all for someone else, but like when it comes to yourself, you're
Yeah.
not willing to be brave or like do those things
Yeah.
that you know, had mentioned, like set the boundaries, be brave, like say, you know what, I actually am uncomfortable being treated this way.
Yeah.
And you're okay with letting someone treat you a certain way that maybe doesn't reflect that, or um that worthiness or that enoughness, those
Mm-hmm.
things kind of really can encompass your
Mm-hmm.
self-worth and kind of like feed and or diminish
Yeah.
that thing.
Yeah, definitely. I was trying to think of like some specific examples before we started recording this. And one that came to mind was like, I, when I was working on my previous career, I would equate self worth with productivity. How much
Oof.
did I produce? How much was I willing to do for other clients, colleagues, the business, all of it? And that was in the number of hours that I worked, the frequency in which I was willing to just like be available 24/7, check all the emails immediately, um, you know, take after hours stuff, et cetera, et cetera. And so that was interesting to kind of look back on because I didn't really see it in the moment. I
Mm-hmm.
was looking at it. It was kind of interesting to even like be in the moment of it and to remember feeling like it's almost praised and it's almost like this honorable thing of like, oh, look at you doing so much. And it almost kind of becomes almost like a competitive thing too in a employee situation. um so that was kind of interesting to at the time feel like, oh, what I'm doing is good and right. And then afterwards, in hindsight, be like, ooh, that's so interesting though, because I was actually doing it from a place of, if I don't do this, my self worth is lessened. I don't have as much worth here
Right.
in what I'm doing or as much value. And so, in order to have value and to have self worth in this specific context, I need to go above and beyond
Yeah.
and sacrifice, my personal life and my personal time and
Yeah.
all of that. So,
It's like outsourcing your worthiness, right?
yeah,
It's
yeah,
outsourcing, because then it's like um what I produce, my value ends at what I'm able to do for another.
yeah,
And that's like such a important piece of self-worth, because when we're looking for our worth externally,
hmm,
um, that's I'm not going to say that's a problem, but it's a problem, right? Like, because
yeah,
what it does is ultimately like a good goal for everyone, and just like something that I've learned on my own journey with it is that like actually our worth is inherent, right? Like
Yeah.
we're inherently worthy. And I think it comes down to being willing to like be brave or get uncomfortable with the quality of life we want to have.
Yeah.
Um, because right, like when you were in that situation, and I can so relate,
Mm-hmm.
I can currently relate like in my own
Mm-hmm.
life and my
Yeah.
job and the dynamics that I'm currently in,
Mm-hmm.
to where it's like um we end up kind of in this situation where like we don't feel we're not actually feeling nourished or like good about life. Actually,
Yeah.
we feel like, this phrase has been coming up for me a lot, and I know we've talked about this before in our like nervous system episode and such, but like um functional freeze,
Mm-hmm.
like we're still producing, we're still doing, we're like
Yeah.
running through, but like our nervous system and our mind and our body are like fuck. And
Mm-hmm.
we're just kind of like
Yeah.
the signals are coming online that are saying like this actually feels really bad.
Yeah.
We should not be doing this. Like I
Yeah.
don't want to do this.
Yeah.
But because like our perception is saying like
Yeah.
this is where our value comes from, we're just going to keep doing the thing.
Yeah, and that's the perception point is so good. I was thinking about that too, of like, no one ever told me that my worth came from what I was able to produce or the
Yeah.
number of hours I put in. I created a narrative based on a template that I was
Given.
given.
Saw. Yeah.
Yeah, and so it is interesting the way that our perception starts to shape the behaviors that we engage in. And then yeah, our nervous system is like, hey, can we maybe like do something different? And we're like, no, because this is where my self-worth comes from.
Right. Like I have to
So
do this. I actually have to. And then it like
yeah,
becomes a belief that like if I
yeah,
don't, I will not be worthy. Exactly. Yeah, I love that. And I think that this can be like translated not only in work but in relationship
yep.
and in so many things. Like um I think a good like way to highlight this for people maybe who don't relate so much to the like work element, or if you have healthy
Mhm.
boundaries at work, which like
Kudos.
I know, congratulations. I love that for you. Can't relate.
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding. I can kind of relate now. I'll say no sometimes too much. Sometimes they're like, she really thinks she can do whatever she wants. And I'm like, yeah, I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
But then sometimes it's like, wait, I said I wasn't doing this. Now I'm doing it.
Yeah.
You know, and I think we'll talk about that too. But you know, relationship wise, like this can sometimes look like, you know, whether it's like with a partner or a parent or like, I mean, friendships, even this can happen
Mhm.
in friendships. This can
Yeah.
happen really anywhere. But if you're feeling like your sense of worthiness or the validation of like being worthy or loved is coming from what you are able to give to another person, whether that be, you know, going, this is a great way to kind of like frame it, I think, is if you're willing to drop everything that you're doing in order to meet a need of somebody else. So in relationship, this can look like maybe you're in the middle of a project and your partner is coming home and you're like in that moment, maybe in the middle of something, and they come home from work and it's like, oh, they haven't eaten and they're hungry and whatever. And you are like, let me drop everything to get you a plate of food and feed you,
Yeah.
which no disrespect to like people's dynamics or whatever. That's not the issue. I think the issue is when you're not willing to say, I'm going to do that, but I'm going to finish this first.
Yeah.
Or if you're, this is something I see play out a lot, and I saw play out a lot in my upbringing and still today in my life is um maybe you're in the middle of something for your job, for your kids, for whatever, for yourself.
Mhm.
And the phone rings and it's like, I need this. And instead of saying, okay, I can get that to you in this time frame. Right
Mhm.
now I need to finish this.
Yeah.
There's a perception of an expectation to drop everything and do it right then and there.
Yeah.
Um that is a good indicator that like you are outsourcing self-worth, right? Like,
Yeah.
and it is still the same thing, right?
Mhm.
Because it's about productivity and what you can do for another, measuring that
Yeah.
like, see, I'm good.
Yeah.
I'm good enough.
Right.
And
Yeah.
this can play out in so many ways. And I
Mm-hmm.
mean, as an adult child, right,
Mm-hmm.
in an enmeshed family, wink wink family, love you. um like, this is no secret, we all know it. In my family, there's no denying it. So we all have the awareness of this, but not everyone experiences it the same way.
Mm-hmm.
But there's this perceived obligation on my end of like, oh, I have to help them with
Mm-hmm.
this. Even if it's like, I don't want to do that, or I'm not going to do that.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, well, I need to help. And actually, sometimes where that's coming from is this place of fear of rejection, or fear
Mm-hmm.
of losing love or
Yeah.
security. And if I've learned anything, um, actually, like, these people are going to, they love me. They are not going to
They
stop
do.
loving
Yeah.
me. Yeah. And that's the really interesting thing, is sometimes I think when it comes to self-worth, we're actually the ones like holding ourselves in the box, or like
Mm-hmm.
we're keeping ourselves chained to this idea or story or narrative
Mm-hmm.
about our worthiness, when really, like, the people around us,
Mm-hmm.
they're going to love us. And
Mm-hmm.
I actually have found for myself, and I've seen with other people, like, when you're honoring what you need, and you're like refilling your cup, and
Mm-hmm.
doing what you need to do to build your worthiness, and setting boundaries and all these things, people like love you, can love you a little bit better, because you're actually feeling better. You have
Mm-hmm.
capacity.
Yeah.
um it might not be comfortable all the time, but yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I was thinking too just about how it might show up in relationships, and there's like that productivity piece, or the let me do all of this for you so that you can tell me I'm enough, not with your words, but like so I can feel like
Feel
I'm enough.
appreciated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then there's this other component of like, am I worthy of your time, or to be treated in this way, or
Mm-hmm.
whatever that looks like for you? And I was thinking about how this has shown up for me, just in my marriage, and how it's been interesting to notice it and to challenge it as well. And just a very simple example, low stakes example, is like if Adam has a desire to like hang out with some of his friends that he likes to spend time with, and there's a part of me that's like, yeah, of course I want him to, it's so good for people to have friends and to like go do those things, or whatever that looks like. And then there are times too where I'm like, ah, gosh, but like there's a part of me where I'm actually really craving like connection, and it's been a long week, and it would be awesome to spend like quality time together. And there have been so many times where I've noticed a pattern in the past of um putting aside my desire for connection and saying like, yeah, go ahead, do what you want, or whatever, no big deal. And then inside it's because it's like, oh, because I don't really feel worthy of your time, like I don't
Mm.
feel like I'm good enough for you to spend time with me, go ahead and spend time with these other people instead. And so it's been interesting to notice that pattern in the past, and to presently like actively challenge those things of like, hey, I actually really was hoping to spend time with you tonight. Can we do that instead? And maybe you can hang out with them tomorrow or another time, or can we have this pocket of time? And then afterwards, like,
Right.
right, like working it out like collaboratively, and actually expressing like how I'm feeling, and really challenging that belief of like, no, Kayla, you are enough. Of course you're enough.
Yeah.
And of course Adam thinks I'm enough. But
No,
it's like
totally.
this perception that we create. And so yeah, sometimes it's like those performance-based things, and other times it's like, am I even worthy of this kind of treatment?
Yes. That, I love that you said that, because that's such an important piece of this as well. And like the reversal of that too can be like never challenging your partner, and never, and
Yeah.
always like, this is definitely a tendency I've had, and I'm really intentionally wanting to leave this in the past, but
Mm-hmm.
contorting ourselves into like
Mm-hmm.
all these different versions, and shape shifting, and not like
Yeah.
willing to be our full self, because of the fear of rejection, because like
Yeah.
who I am isn't good enough, isn't lovable, isn't like, these parts of me are too much, or whatever, the like
Yeah.
insert thing here, right? And so I'm never going to challenge you, I'm never going to say no.
Yeah.
I'm I'm going to always agree with you. I'm going to, um, my needs are like going to take a back seat because
Yeah.
I just want to like serve you.
Yeah.
And that's a really good reflection of how we feel about ourselves,
Yeah.
because someone that is like, that's really on the journey with us and sees us and loves us and is committed to like growing with us
Yeah.
is never going to um ask that of you, ask you to
No.
contort. And they're gonna, when you express a need or say like, hey, this is how I'm feeling, they're gonna be willing to have the conversation with you,
Yeah.
and like go on that journey and vice versa.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's like the reversal of what you're talking
Yeah.
about, right? Like the I'm not enough of this thing, and so
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to literally like become someone else in order for you
Yeah.
to accept me and love me, and I'm gonna basically like kind of in a way make your life the most amazing and like kind of not live mine, like
Yeah.
walk a path that's in service to someone else's path instead of.
Yeah.
I heard this quote yesterday, and honestly at first I was like, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard, but right now I'm like, oh no, this is what it is.
Yeah.
um and it was this girl, she's like, I have a tattoo that says 1 + 1 = 11. And the idea of partnership,
Okay.
connection, and
Yeah.
community is not like 1 + 1 = these two people merging into something. It's
Mm-hmm.
actually 1 + 1 = two people standing beside one another,
Mm.
strong and like supporting each other.
Yeah.
And at first I was like, who the fuck brought math into this? What are you
Yeah.
talking about?
But the visual is nice.
The visual
Yeah.
is nice.
Yeah.
And honestly, still, do I think it's kind of dumb a little bit? No disrespect. But it was like, what? However, right now in this moment, I'm like, oh, it
That
is
makes
like
sense.
actually, it does make sense
Yeah.
to a degree.
I feel like that can show up in friendships too, like or like other social circles of like, I'm not enough just as I am, like my personality or the way that I show up or the way that I engage with people. And so in order to be enough for this like social group, wherever that lies in your life, I'm going to take on like a whole new identity, whether that be how you're like engaging, the behaviors that you engage in order to like fit in with a certain, and this is like, you know, childhood, adolescence into adulthood, right?
Yeah.
Where we can like remember these times of like, ooh, that wasn't really me.
Oh,
I was just
totally.
trying to like fit in. And so we, of course, do that in little ways or sometimes big ways in adulthood too. And that's a sign of like, hey, like your self worth is needing a little bit of love.
Yeah, absolutely. That's so true. And I think when we do that as kids and in our adolescence, right, like it's shaping how we are going to show up as adults,
Yeah.
and it's paving that. It's like laying the
Yeah.
foundation.
Building the framework and the pattern.
Yeah, I feel like this is a good place for us to kind of like talk about how self-worth is built and how it's diminished, and
Mm-hmm.
like that example of like adolescence of like when you're like, I am gonna do this thing because like peer pressure, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna do this to fit in, or I'm gonna like kind of shapeshift into like this behavior, or yeah, I'll do this thing even though it doesn't feel good or it's like morally like not in line with who I am,
Yeah.
but I'm gonna do it because I want to be accepted and I want to
Yeah.
be loved. Um Going back on our values,
Yes.
when we set boundaries for ourselves, and this is like, I would say for adults, but also for kids, I think we don't really view them as boundaries when we're teenagers, but we have them. We
Mm-hmm.
have like things that we're not willing to do.
Yeah.
And when we have that in our mind, or we have a value system and we know what that is, and we set that for ourselves
Mm-hmm.
and we go back on it,
Mm-hmm.
we are chipping away at our worthiness.
Mm-hmm.
So like what that can look like is like, like maybe it's like a more vulnerable example is like, I'm not willing to like do this thing with a partner, like a romantic partner.
Mm-hmm.
And then in the moment, it's like, oh, but I really like this person. I don't want to
Yeah.
lose this. And so like, I actually am going to do this.
Yeah.
that is chipping away at our worthiness.
Yeah, it's a conflict of like your value system, your boundaries, and what you're actually doing.
Right. And what you need, like, right,
Yeah.
what feels true for you in that moment. And then the action is like, so basically, like, what's happening cognitively, right, is like, we have this thing where it's like, I don't want to do this.
Mm-hmm.
That's true.
Yeah.
Right. And then, but I'm going to do it because I want to be accepted and loved and I want to feel
Yeah.
worthy. And so then our brain is like, my needs don't matter. I'm not good enough to do this, to stand up for myself, or this person's needs are more important than my own.
Yeah.
And that is just chipping away at it, you know, and it can be something way less high stakes, right? It can be like, I'm not picking up these Legos one more time. I'm not
Yeah.
doing it. These children can do it.
Yeah.
And then in the moment, it's like, well, and maybe that's like a more nuanced example, but because if you're like, if you're like me, I'm just gonna pick up the Legos because I'm not,
Right. Yeah.
that's not worth the fight.
Right.
My 6-year-old nephew's favorite line is when I'm like, okay, now we're gonna pick all this up. He will sometimes look at me and say, "You're fully capable." What? He does say that
That's
to me.
incredible.
It's amazing. It's amazing how he can weaponize
Yeah.
a teaching moment.
Yeah.
Because somewhere, sometime, something was once said to him where it's, well, you're fully capable of actually
Yeah.
doing this. I don't need to do it for
Kids
you.
are amazing.
And
How they
he's,
just like take those things and like just bank them for a perfect time.
he said, and so are you.
Yeah.
You're fully capable too.
Yeah.
That's not the point. Like, but yeah.
But values I do think is such a big thing, and especially in adulthood. Like I probably didn't even know like what a value system was when I was a teenager, and of course we have them from
Totally.
from our family system is what it's usually inspired by, and then into adulthood, it's a nice opportunity to start becoming aware of like, what do I value? Like, what are my core values, like the guiding principles, the North Star in my life? Like, how do I, like, what am I basing my life on at this point? And so getting clear on those, I think, can be a really helpful way of like what you even value, and then behaving in a certain way that aligns with those value systems. And that's a good way to measure, like, am I chipping away at my self-worth by completely ignoring the values that I have, or am I building my self-worth by showing myself like I can follow through, I can maintain and uphold my own boundaries, I am clear on my value system, and I live my life in a way that is aligned. And so that's like one of those things where it can go both ways, is once you get clear, then you can kind of determine like where am I at in this whole self-worth spectrum.
Absolutely. Love that. Yeah, absolutely. I think that that's like the most important way, right? To like build it. Really,
it seems like the foundation.
For sure, because it's like, that's how we nourish and how we really like, when I see people, I know a few people who really have a strong sense of self-worth and like just really like have it like clocked their value.
Yeah.
And it's so beautiful to see people stand in that and to really be like, oh, okay. And to not like make it mean more than it needs to, and to be able to just like honor what they need. And also a part of it, I think, for people who maybe are people pleasers or who really struggle with being uncomfortable, an important thing to do is to like exercise discomfort, because it can be uncomfortable sometimes to like sit in the, I might have disappointed this person or whatever it is. But to really be like, okay, like I'm going to honor my value. I'm going to honor what I need here. I'm going to be willing to have the uncomfortable conversation and communicate whatever. Part of that is really exercising the muscle that's like willing to be brave. And like we kind of mentioned, you know, earlier in this episode, like bravery is a big part of this. If you're someone who doesn't really have like a strong sense of these things.
Yeah.
So, I think that that's like, you know, sometimes harnessing and channeling like the bravery and like the willingness to like, to put yourself out there, and or to like to take, like, a good example is the way we're willing to stand up for others, or the way we're willing to like treat our friends that we really
Mm-hmm.
love and like value, or the sacrifices we're willing to make for some of those people in our lives, being willing to make those for yourself.
Right. Like if you're willing to do it for someone else, why don't you think that you're worthy
Worthy of
enough?
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that that concept of like building that muscle of goes both ways too, of like you can build the muscle of like bravery and being vulnerable and like practicing the hard thing over and over and over and develop a new pattern within the way that you are. And even just the little example of like me saying to Adam, like, oh, actually, I'm really like craving connection. Can we do XYZ instead? And like working something out there. That's like a little way of like building that muscle and building that
Yeah.
repetition of like, I am enough, I am worthy. And here's how I'm showing that to myself.
Yes.
Um, and the reverse is true too, of the more that you show yourself that you're not
Not.
worthy, it goes the same way, right? Where you're reinforcing those patterns of like, gosh, see, I'm not worth it. I'm not worth the time. I'm not valuable enough. I'm not enough. I'm not lovable, whatever it is. And so it's, I think, having the just being willing to like take that scary step of like, ooh, I'm going to challenge myself here, and to know that it's worth it because you're building that muscle over time. And that, I think, also connects to another way of like building your self-worth, your self-esteem, and all of that is competency, of like, I'm able to, like, I'm building this skill and I
Mm-hmm.
feel good about it. It's like getting those
Yeah.
little wins on the board. Um, so yeah, it's like something that builds slowly over time. Um, yeah,
It's like muscle, right? Like we
it
talked
is.
about, it
Yeah.
really is like you have to exercise it.
Yeah.
And I think exactly like really understanding your why, of like, why is this important that I do this?
Yeah.
I think that can be really helpful too. Whether that's because you want to be a good example for your kids,
Yeah.
you want to feel better about yourself, you want your communication and your relationships to look better, because I think it's really important for people to bring into perspective that actually when we have a strong sense of self-worth and we are nourishing that part of ourselves,
Yeah.
our relationships do get better.
Yeah, for
Everything
sure.
gets better.
Yeah.
And it can be scary to imagine that, because the part of the like patterns and the behaviors of low
Yeah.
self-worth is saying that like if we don't do these things we will lose something or we will not be enough. And
Yeah.
so it's like really like going to the thought and the story and kind of unraveling that. and
Mhm.
and like you said, self-worth is really the foundation of so much.
Yeah.
It's the foundation of, I think, like us being willing to like stand in who we are and walk our paths,
Yeah.
um and really be in service to what we're in service to. A big thing coming up for me in my journey right now is like, am I in service to like what I am here to be in service of, or am I standing in service to other people's service because I feel like I have to be, because perceived obligation. If that made any sense. I feel like
Mhm.
I worded that kind of weird, but like, it's like, am I walking my path? Am I answering and honoring my soul's call
Mhm.
and being in service to these things that are really important to me?
Mhm.
Or am I sacrificing that
Mhm.
in order to be in service of other people's paths and their needs because I'm afraid of disappointing people, losing people,
Yeah.
the perception of what I have to do.
Right.
And I think that just like when we take a step back, like self-worth is really like the foundation of so much.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's a good like thought exercise to work through that, of like where, like how we started this, I guess, this episode, of like, where did this maybe originate from if you're struggling with self-worth, or if you have amazing self-worth. I think it's worth taking time to reflect on like, how was that built? Like what was
Yes.
demonstrated for you? Because that's amazing. and also present day of like, how is this showing up in my life? Am
Mm-hmm.
I, living my life for other people, ignoring my own needs because I just don't really think that I'm, important enough or whatever it is to like actually walk my own path. So yeah, just to do like some reflection, I think can be helpful. And then it also gives you just some insight into like, what do I want to do about this? Like, what's the next step that I can take that feels like it's in a really good and supportive direction that aligns with my value system?
Yeah, absolutely. I love that.
Yeah.
If you're a listener and you feel like you have a really strong sense of self-worth, and you do decide to explore where that comes from, like I would love to hear from people
Yeah.
where that was nourished, and like what things in your childhood or in your upbringing or experiences you had that, you know, led to that. I think that that'd be that to me that is so interesting,
Hmm.
because I think like we talked about, right, like it is so unconscious. It's like it's a subliminal thing that can happen, but when we go back and reflect, it'd be really interesting for me, and I think our listeners, to hear like what things
Hmm.
happened that like really helped build that confidence, that
Hmm.
like sense of
Yeah.
worthiness and enoughness and self. So if you're willing to share that with us, oh my gosh.
No, that'd be so fun to read. I feel like I've seen a post at one point that was asking for like people's input on something very similar of
Yeah.
like just things that really stood out as a child that were like, oh my gosh, like my parents love me so much and this feels like so good.
Yeah.
And yeah, that'd be fun to hear from people. And it's also just fun to kind of reflect on like, oh, is there anything that stands out, in our own upbringings too. Yeah, that'd be
Yes.
sweet to hear from people.
Yeah, I think that, and that is like such a positive thing to like shine a light on. Like my parents did this thing and
Hmm.
it felt really, I felt really loved, and I really felt
Yeah.
like secure, or this helped me be confident in who I am. And
Yeah.
yeah, I love that. That'd be really fun. And yeah, who knows?
Yeah.
Maybe we should do like a little post or something one day about this,
Yeah.
and see what the internet has for us. Not
Yeah.
right now because we're on a break, but
We're doing the bare minimum
we are
on
doing the
social
bare,
media.
girl, I'm doing the bare minimum. Yeah, no, exactly. But yeah, I think it's fun to, it's also like helpful for us to share these things, because maybe you're a parent, or maybe you want to become a parent one day. These are things that where it's like we can learn from our experiences
Yeah.
and from other people's experiences how to raise humans, or
Yeah.
even for ourselves, like how can I take this into adulthood and validate myself in this way,
Yeah.
and nourish that muscle. So
Yeah, absolutely. It's nice, like, if you are a mom listening, or if you hope to be a mom someday, like, it is nice to think about this topic and so many of the topics that we talked about of, like, how do I want to care for myself so that I can model this for my child?
kids.
Yeah. And to know, like, we're all human, we're not going to get it all right all the time, but it's nice to have, I guess, like the level of conscientiousness to say, like, I want to do better than fill in the blank,
Yeah,
my current state or what my upbringing looked like or whatever it is. So it's helpful to think about not only for our adult lives, but also for the children that we might be raising someday.
exactly. Yeah, no, exactly. Like this is a thing that my sister and I discuss a lot, and we are aware of, because like when you have humans that are
Mm-hmm.
like being shaped by you, there have been moments where I'm like,
It feels high stakes.
oh, the stakes are high.
Yeah.
I would be lying if I said like I feel like I've nailed it. I do not feel like I've nailed it. There have been times where I've called my sister crying and been like, well, I just fucked up, I did.
Yeah.
And vice versa, because that's like the reality of
Mhm.
the, like you said, like we are not going to get it perfect every time, but it's the
Yeah.
awareness, and also the repair. I think repair is a big part of self-worth.
Yes. Yeah.
Repair is so important, because we are human and we will make mistakes, and we do make mistakes,
Yeah.
and we don't do everything perfectly all the time. But the willingness to say to our kids, to our partners, to ourselves,
Yeah.
hey, I didn't do that perfectly. I don't like how I just showed up there,
Yeah.
and I want to do better for you. Or I'm really sorry.
Yeah.
Um, and this is not something I want, you know, repair, 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 repair. Parents of adult children, repair matters at all phases.
Yeah.
It is not your controversial. It's not a child's job to do repair, right? At
No.
any
Yeah.
age. It doesn't matter
Yeah.
if you're in your 70s and your child's in their 50s.
Yeah.
It is not your child's job to do the repair as the adult, as the parent, even if they are adults, right? Like this is a really big thing to learn because sometimes I think with small children, we don't always realize how important the repair really is. And that's a thing my sister, like, and with the kids in my life, like
Mm-hmm.
we make sure to do, because if there are those moments where it's like, hey, I'm really sorry I did not show up well. I'm
Mm-hmm.
so sorry that that happened. I will do better. You deserve better. You're a very, I love you. I love that, you know, to
Mm-hmm.
build them back up. Because if we don't do that,
Mm-hmm.
children will write the
It's such
story.
an important lesson to teach through behavior,
Yes.
and not just being the parent who's like, go say sorry.
No.
Like you do that. It's like, no, it's so important to actually demonstrate that, and to demonstrate the humility, the ownership, the ability to say, I'm wrong. I was wrong.
Yes.
I didn't do this the way that I would have liked to have done this. To not be like so, um, like filled with ego and pride and stubbornness, and like, no, this is how I showed up, this is, just the way it
Like
is.
defensive.
Yes.
Yes.
It's like, break down those walls and actually show up and just be vulnerable and brave and courageous and say like, hey, I was wrong and I'm so sorry, or I didn't show up in the way that I wanted to and I'm so sorry, and like actually repair.
Repair.
I think that's so important.
And it actually does build self-worth, because
Yeah.
then your child is learning, oh, I'm enough for someone to come say sorry to me. I'm enough.
Yeah.
I'm worthy of apology and of
Yeah.
love. And when we don't do that, kids can, like, our kid brain will write all sorts of stories or
Oh
make meaning
yeah.
out of all sorts of behavior. And so, yeah, I think that is such a good one, and a little nugget in the,
Yeah.
in the ninth inning here,
Yeah.
of just like, oh, that's actually a huge part of
Yeah.
worthiness. And it carries into everything. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I
Yeah.
love that.
Absolutely. Anything else?
I don't even think so. I don't even know. Um, this is going to come out and you guys are going to hear it. And hopefully, Kayla just keeps
I'm
healing.
hoping we can do another episode next week. I hope I am like on the upswing for real this time.
Me
So,
too. Yeah.
yeah.
We will be coming at you all, with more. And
Yeah.
as we move through this new year, things will continue to unfold. And we do have some exciting stuff like
Yeah.
in the works, but also we're going to model taking care of ourselves
Yeah.
and
Mm-hmm.
prioritizing health and wellness, and
Yeah.
really making sure we have stuff to give.
Yeah.
And so with that, we'll see what we're able to bring.
Yeah. We'll see you next episode. Maybe not next week. Hopefully next week, but we'll see you next episode.
We're going to be vague. I love that. We'll see. We will see you. Thank you.